What's up, guys? Welcome to the Home for Infinite Losers podcast. Thank you. Today, sorry, I'm in my car washing clothes. Today, we are stepping into one of the most important, unsettling, and emotionally loaded Marvel events of the 2000s. And it's not just a crossover, it's an alternate reality story. We're going to be looking at Xmen House of M. I just know Marvel Doomsday is coming out later on this year, and I've been wanting to do one of these long-form comic book reviews for a little while. So, I'm going to go ahead and hop into one of my favorite X-Men stories. House of M happens right out of what do I want to say? The Scarlet Witch had a breakdown. She lost control of her powers, and eventually she reduced the mutant population drastically, an act that shook the X-Men. So by the time House of M begins, the question is Wanda dangerous? What do we do with her? So I want to read an excerpt from the beginning of issue number 1. And to be clear, this podcast is going to focus on the first 4 issues that I have for the series. So I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis for the story that we're about to get into, okay? We're going to start here. The New Avengers and the astonishing X-Men meet to discuss the fate of Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, and the daughter of the most powerful mutant terrorist, Magneto. After losing control of her reality-altering powers and suffering a total nervous breakdown, Wanda unleashed chaos upon the Avengers, killing and injuring many of their number. Magneto intervened and took his daughter to the devastated island nation of Genosha, where Charles Xavier, Professor X, the founder of the X-Men, was to help her recover. Xavier failed, and now it's up to Wanda's friends and teammates to decide whether she'll live or die. But Magneto, Wanda, and her brother Pietro, and it doesn't say it here, but that's Quicksilver. So Magneto, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver disappear. The world burns white, and reality as we knew it is gone. So, the first issue, before we open the first page, we have to remember the emotional weight sitting on this issue. Wanda Maximoff has already lost her children, so she already had a mental collapse. And she already lost control of her powers. She reduced the mutants down to a small percentage. So she already manipulated memories and events of things that has happened. She has world-altering powers, so that's just kind of her thing. She already forced the Avengers to confront the fact that they were quietly erasing her breakdowns instead of actually helping her. And at the same time, Magneto has already waged war on humanity before, so human-mutant relationships are pretty fragile. The X-Men are under constant pressure, so House of M doesn't start with explosions. It just starts with like an overwhelming feeling of tension and fear. So the opening scene is Wanda and her children. I put quotation marks around children. And the issue opens quietly, almost painfully quiet, because Wanda's at home and her children are there. She's holding them, she's talking to them, she's being a mother, and immediately as a reader, you know something's wrong because those kids shouldn't exist. So Marvel doesn't rush this moment. They let Wanda sit in. They let her smile. They let her exist in the life that she wants. And that's important because this isn't villain Wanda. This is broken Wanda, clinging to something that makes her feel whole. Charles Xavier enters the scene, and when Charles arrives, it's not as a superhero, it's not as a leader, but basically as a psychiatrist for her or a doctor. He's a telepath, so it's easy for him to see what's going on and see what he can fix. But it's also pretty invasive from my perspective, just because, I've been to therapy a few times, and the first times I was going to therapy, maybe when I was like 23, 24, it was really hard for me to kind of open up to somebody and let them in, just because I have my own versions of things that have happened in my life, and I am constantly told that, that didn't happen, or, you're just overreacting, or you should just forget about it. That happened a long time ago. So I kind of empathize with her on that. Especially when, not to keep talking about myself, but when I was finally able to open up, it still felt to me like I shouldn't be telling somebody these things, because I at that point, I just did not care if what people thought about me or what people had to say about me. I'm pretty much on that road right now, but therapy was good for me. Therapy should have been good for Wanda, but I feel like she had the same feelings that I had, times 10, because she's a telepath, and times 10 because Professor Xavier can just peer into her mind without asking her anything. So I definitely did like that part of the comic. As someone who understands how deep Wanda's mind has fractured, he gently exposes the truth, and he tells her that the life that she has with those two kids at the beginning of the story isn't real, and that the children aren't real. That is what she's experiencing, but what she is experiencing is an illusion that she created herself to protect herself. The look on Wanda's face tells the whole story. She doesn't argue, she doesn't fight, she collapses emotionally. This is grief, not rage. And it matters that Marvel starts here. So Xavier goes to Magneto. After this, Magneto and him start talking, and they speak privately. Magneto's her dad, so he has to tell her what's going on. This conversation is uncomfortable, but in a quiet way. Xavier explains how unstable Wanda's become and how her power is no longer behaving like a controlled magic or probability manipulation. Sorry. It's rewriting reality around emotional triggers. Why did I write this like this? Okay. It's rewriting reality around emotional triggers. Magneto doesn't deny the danger, but he doesn't fully accept what the Avengers and the X-Men are circling around either. To Magneto, this isn't a problem to be solved. It's his daughter. And you can feel the difference in how both men approach her. Xavier speaks like a doctor, while Magneto speaks to her like a father. He's going to be emotional. So the Avengers and the X-Men get together to have a meeting, and there's a shot where the X-Men are arriving that's really fucking badass. They get off the plane, and I'm going to put it up on the YouTube video, but they get off the plane, and it's literally Cyclops in the middle, all the X-Men on the sides, and then the Avengers are giving them that look like, oh my god, it's these guys. I just thought that was cool. I had to throw that in there. You see everyone who matters politically in the Marvel universe at the moment. We have Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Beast, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, a whole lot of other people, Wonder Man, a whole lot of other people. So it's not a casual meeting, it's an intervention. We need to figure out what the fuck to do with this girl. So on the surface, the topic is simple. What do we do with Wanda? But the real topic underneath is that much darker. What do you want to do with someone who can erase you accidentally? That's the real question. So Doctor Strange explains that Wanda's power is no longer behaving in ways that magic should. It isn't structured, it isn't predictable, it's emotional. So that makes it uncontrollable. Beast explains that mentally, Wanda is fractured. They've been ignoring it. Emma Frost says what no one else wants to say. She openly suggests killing Wanda. She doesn't dress it up, she doesn't soften it. She frames it as a necessary act to protect the entire world. Damn, I just hit my roof. So you can feel the change in the air. There's a specific few panels of Captain America versus Wolverine as far as their ideologies. And it's one of the most, to me, important clashes in the issue. Captain America can't accept executing someone preemptively. For Steve Rogers, that line matters. Basically because that's what separates the Avengers from who they're chasing. So Captain America is just like, no, we're not going to kill her. But Wolverine sees it differently. He's lived in darker places and he's done uglier work. And I'm going to take this jacket off because I'm getting hot. Hold on 1 second, guys. Jesus. Fucking hot in this car because I got to turn off the AC so you guys can hear me. Whatever. All right, we here. So, yes, Steve Rogers, Captain America, does not want to kill this girl, but Wolverine is just kind of like, he's ready to do it, especially if it's going to save people, it's going to save the whole world, because this girl is powerful. So to Logan, waiting until someone destroys reality is irresponsible. It's not just, hero versus hero. It's philosophy versus philosophy. And neither man is presented as stupid. They're both right. But that's what makes it uncomfortable. Peter, this is Spider-Man's reaction. I got to get my guy's reaction to this whole thing. But Peter Parker is visibly shaking. He's not a strategist. He's not a general. He's just a man who knows what loss feels like. Obviously. Because the writers do not like Spider-Man. You can see it in his body language that he hates where this conversation is going. So Luke Cage goes ahead and speaks up, and his perspective is important because he represents the people who live in the damage left behind by these power level decisions. He knows what happens when God level beings lose control. But he puts his input in, and Emma doesn't back down. She doesn't apologize, and she doesn't soften her position. She argues that if Wanda is left unchecked, millions could die, and she's right. The X-Men of all people should understand what happens when the world fears something powerful. One of the more quiet moments of issue number 1, and one of the most heartbreaking moments, is Xavier pulls Scott Summers aside and he says, "I don't know what to do." That's devastating because Professor X always knows what to do. He's the moral and intellectual center of the mutant leadership. And even he has no answer to all this bullshit. So while the heroes are debating Wanda's fate, Quicksilver confronts Magneto, and he's furious. He knows exactly what the Avengers and the X-Men are discussing, and he makes it very clear. They're deciding whether his sister deserves to live. He accuses Magneto of caring more about mutant politics and power structure than about Wanda herself. Magneto doesn't deny that the discussion is happening, and he doesn't promise to stop it, which hurts Quicksilver deeply. And that emotional breaking point is pretty much like the central piece of the issue because it kind of starts everything. After this conversation, the X-Men go to Genosha. Because after the meeting, they decided to take some action. So they fly over there on the X-Plane, not to fight, but to intervene. And they want to remove Wanda from the situation before the Avengers can make a final decision. But when they arrive, Magneto is gone. Wanda is gone. Quicksilver is gone. And there's no signs of a struggle, no signs of a fight, just absence. Reality itself collapses pretty soon after this. Because they're like walking, and then Spider-Man's the first one to notice, presumably because of spider sense. But the entire page floods with white after 3 panels. There's no narration, no like bubbles or anything, no warning, no nothing. Marvel doesn't give you context at all. They just give you what happens after it. So the final page of issue 1, it's kind of crazy because Peter Parker wakes up and Gwen Stacy is beside him, alive, smiling, peaceful, And this right here is where the House of M truly begins. Not with Magneto, not with Wanda, but with the promise of a world that feels too good to be real. So issue 1's pretty important. It asks, what if grief made a better world than justice ever could? And this issue is pretty much a moral trap. You don't know who to believe in. You don't know who to side with. Even Emma Frost. Me personally, I side with Wolverine and Emma Frost. Kill this motherfucker. Why are we doing this? Get rid of her. She doesn't know how to control her powers. And she just wants what she wants. But I can also see why keeping her alive would be safe. So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think? So what we're going to do is go ahead and move to issue number 2. This whole issue is basically just how whatever Wanda did impacts each character that was on these teams. It shows you how well Wanda's new reality works. Not how powerful it is or convincing it is, but because a bad alternative reality is easy to reject. A good one, that's dangerous. So every single character we follow in this issue represents a different way the world has been quietly rewritten since the events of issue 1. It opens on not a battlefield or Genosha or even Avengers Tower. We start on the street. And the first real focus is Wonder Man. Simon Williams is not struggling here at all. He isn't insecure. He isn't drifting. He belongs, he has status, and he has purpose. What's important about Wonder Man in this opening is not what he's doing, it's how calm he's doing it. There's no tension in his life, no friction, no sense that he's fighting the world for a place in it. And it tells you immediately what kind of society this is. This world isn't, it's not here to fight mutants. It's literally built for them. Before the comic ever explains what the House of M actually is, there's banners, there's propaganda, symbols, flags, uniforms, authority, but nobody is panicking. There's a stable system, which makes it that much scarier. Even the Nazis had a stable system. Carol Danvers and Gambit show up in the comic next, and Carol Danvers is operating as a law enforcement officer in this world. She's powerful, confident, and respected, and she intercepts Gambit during a robbery. So I guess Gambit's an asshole in this universe. But he's not a big super villain. He's desperate, nervous, and scared, and Carol shuts him down easily. The tone of the scene tells you everything. Humans commit crimes, mutants enforce order, and anybody that questions that, there's no discussion. It's just procedure. Gambit gets arrested and the world just keeps moving. There's no Gambit side story or nothing. In this reality, mutants aren't just superior. They're institutional, and they run the systems they control and the structure of those systems that they control. They define what normal looks like, and that's the core of House of M. So then we jump to Sam Wilson. I believe Sam Wilson is Falcon, and Luke Cage. It's one of the most important scenes of the issue because Sam and Luke are not high-level political figures. They're community voices and they're street level. They talk about what life is like now, and the conversation is calm. No one's talking about rebellion or resistance. They talk like two people who have adapted to the circumstances, which tells you something dangerous. This world didn't take power violently. It just pretty much normalized it. Luke Cage's silence is loud during this conversation because Luke's not happy, but he's not fighting either. He's learned how to survive in this version of society, and that's really all that matters. Luke Cage represents people who know what oppression looks like. Even if he's not fully ready to call this world wrong, he's ready to adapt and live in it comfortably. So then we go to Beast. He's a highly respected scientist in Chicago who has funding. And he's not a novelty. He's exactly where he wants to be. It's one of the more emotionally effective changes because in the real Marvel world, Beast is brilliant, but he's always treated as something strange to other scientists. So now in this world, he's a respected scientist. That's all he really wanted. And then there's a panel of Storm in Paris trying on a dress, basically representing that she has power and status now as well. These particular characters were chosen, Wonder Man, Carol, Sam, Luke, Beast, and Storm, because they're not cosmic gods. They're just people who exist in the social systems. And the House of M is all about rewriting those social structures. It's not just history. There's no protest or anything in this comic. There's no war or anything. And everything's just calm until we get to Wolverine. Logan wakes up, and this is the most important moment to me of this issue because Logan remembers all of it. His past, the real timeline, the X-Men, the Avengers, Wanda, the meeting, all that shit. And it hits him all at once. Marvel later explains that Wolverine's healing factor protected his brain. Of course. Stupid shit. So it allows his mind to resist the rewrite while everyone else receives a rewritten history. Logan receives a new reality layered on top of an intact memory, which is horrifying because he lives in a world where everyone he knows is wrong about their own lives. He wakes up next to Mystique, and she is transformed into a redhead. I'm assuming it was Jean Grey, but I don't know. I'm not just gonna say that without knowing for a fact because I haven't read the whole issue yet. So. But she's disguised as a redhead, and it's emotional manipulation, obviously, because Jean represents safety for Logan. Trust, history, intimacy. Mystique is trying to stabilize him before he realizes something is off. But Logan knows immediately that something is wrong. After Logan gets up out of the bed next to her, which I would not have done, I would have finished that shit. But Logan looks around, and they are not on the ground. They're in the air, and they're inside of an airship. And when he looks outside, he sees Sentinels, and they're not the Sentinels we know. They're not hunting mutants. They're protecting mutant authority. And on the side of the ship are House of M flags. And on the sides of the Sentinels, there's House of M flags. The image is pretty terrifying because Sentinels were built to destroy mutants, and Wolverine remembers that. They're a symbol of genocide. So now they're a symbol of state power, which tells you everything about how completely the world has been inverted. So I thought it was pretty cool that Wolverine was the one that remembered. And even with the Spider-Man panel at the end of issue number 1, you could tell that he knew something was off. He didn't know what it was. Me personally, I think that his Spidey sense was just going off 24/7. So Logan and Spider-Man definitely knows something's up. Logan knows all of it, but Spider-Man is just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So we get to Fantastic Four House of M. This is a issue that is focused on Doomsday and his version of the Fantastic Four in this new world that is run by mutants. So this issue starts with Dr. Doom trying to infiltrate the Mole King's facility. If you don't know who the Mole King is, he's not really too important for anything. He almost always serves as a vehicle for the next big thing. But he's an established supervillain in the Marvel Universe. So Dr. Doom arrives with the Fearsome Four, which is this universe's version of the Fantastic Four that Doom is the leader of. So the team is Doom, Valeria the Invincible Woman, the It, and the Inhuman Torch. Reed Richards is dead, and I'm not sure if he died in a plane crash or an outer space accident. I don't have that down in my notes, and I really should have written it down. But if anyone wants to tell me, feel free. I'm not the smartest person in the world. But the fact that Reed Richards is dead makes this Doom's perfect world. So when he's infiltrating the base... Oh, I'm sorry. I just got back home. He gets in there, and as he has the Mole King... Because the Fearsome Four just demolished their troops. So as he has the Mole King up, the Mole King says a few things to him that kind of sting him. Dr. Doom starts off a conversation because the Mole King insults him somehow, and he says, Doom serves no man and certainly no mutant. Doom serves with Magneto. He does not serve Magneto, which is something he wouldn't say in front of Magneto, because in this world, the Sapiens, the humans, are called Sapiens, which is a derogatory term for them because the mutants run everything. So Doctor Doom is basically like, I remember in high school I used to get called Oreo a lot because, oh, he's black on the outside, but he's white on the inside, simply because I spoke in complete sentences. So Doom's getting the same treatment here. He's the smartest sapien, so that's all they view him as. It's like me looking at a dog and saying, oh, that's the smartest dog. I mean, he's not as smart as me, but he's going somewhere. That's what they treat him as. So after he says he serves with Magneto, the Mole King laughs at him and he says, ha, even you aren't that delusional. You can alter your body and your lackeys with dark sorcery and weird science all you want, and you can try and compete in a world owned by mutants. In the end, you're still only human. That makes you Magneto's trained monkey, no matter what power you possess. Your case just happens to be nicer than most. So to that, Dr. Doom says, in you are not even human. You are merely like the vermin that is your namesake. You will be exterminated as such. Odious little rodent. This is Valeria talking here. And I think it's interesting that he named her Valeria. So Valeria here goes, odious little rodent. You dare speak like that to royalty? Let me kill him, husband. And then he says, hold, Valeria. And then he says to the Mole King as he's holding him up, I let you live just long enough to see your pathetic kingdom come to an end. And then he kills him. He kills him after that. So when they get back to Latveria after infiltrating the base and completing whatever mission they had in mind, the words from the Mole King linger. And later on, as he's checking on said dark sorcery and dark science that the Mole King was speaking of earlier, one of the scientists mentions Reed Richards. He says, we've achieved some success breaching the dimensional gates into the land of dark fire, my lord. But we have yet to conjure an adequate weapon against demon hordes. None of us possess your skill with sorcery, my lord. So Dr. Doom goes, disappointing. And the science division? So then one of the scientists mentions Reed Richards, and he's like, oh, we've made so much improvements. We found some notes from a Reed Richards. Do you know him? So then Dr. Doom just like completely crashes out. He goes, Richards? Reed Richards? Kind of like how Vegeta who was it? I can't remember. Oh, how Kaiba goes, Yugi lost. So he goes, Reed Richards, he was a fool. His research is pedestrian and ill-conceived. That's why he's dead, and his entire said crew of space explorers met with a ruin and disaster. However, if you find the late Dr. Richards' work so completely fascinating, by all means mention him again in my presence, and I'll take immediate steps for you to join him. So he's still pressed over Reed Richards. He's still, like, anytime he's mentioned, and I guess he didn't expect him to be mentioned in this setting, but he definitely told that scientist what it was. So after that, he goes to meet his mother, who's still alive in this universe. They get into an argument. So Doom's just arguing with everyone. And then Quicksilver calls him. So this is the first time we see Quicksilver, Magneto, or Scarlet Witch in this universe. Quicksilver calls him and tells him that Magneto wants a meeting. Dr. Doom refuses, and he comes up with an excuse. I forgot what the excuse was, but it was something stupid, and he goes, I'll have to do it later. And he literally hangs up, and I'm assuming not even 10 seconds later, Quicksilver shows up at his door with his super speed. And he goes, it wasn't a request. So Dr. Doom is taken to Genosha, which is where Magneto resides right now. Magneto reminds Doom of his resources, his vibranium and uranium that was out where the Mole King was. Basically, the mission was for Dr. Doom to get information out of the Mole King about where the vibranium and uranium was. Dr. Doom killed the Mole King before he could say anything about it. So he's already failed the mission. However, the fact that he was celebrated in Latveria, I'm thinking Magneto wants to save face and just say, you killed the big bad guy. But then he reminds him about his ego and how dangerous it is. And then Dr. Doom leaves like really angrily. One of them says something to him and it pissed him the fuck off. So later on, whenever he goes back to his lair, he starts abusing the It, which is that universe's version of the Thing. So he starts kicking him and he swears that the House of M will fall and it will become the House of Doom. It's funny, the It is supposed to be the Thing and the strongest character in the Fantastic Four as far as strength and character. However, in this universe, he's just like a big old, I hate to say buffoon, it feels so old, but he's a big buffoon. He's an idiot. And he just says, oh, sorry, Matt, sorry. And Dr. Doom's just like literally stomping on him at the end of it. So I felt kind of bad for him, but I already know this universe is going to get dismantled at the end of this. So I'm sure he's just a blip in this whole thing. So the last issue I wanted to cover today, because I only had the attention span for 4 issues before I had to go do something else. This is Spider-Man House of M #1. The previous issue was Fantastic Four House of M Volume 1. So just, if I didn't say that, I'm saying it now. So, Spider-Man House of M starts off where we left off on issue #1 of House of M, where Peter wakes up next to Gwen Stacy, and he already feels that something is wrong, but he can't explain it. Throughout the issue, we figure out that Uncle Ben is alive, that Rhino is his bodyguard, and that J. Jonah Jameson is still alive. Throughout the issue, Peter shaves his head trying to acclimate, and to me, I kept thinking he was Professor X when he would just pop up. And he knows throughout the issue that something changed. He just doesn't know what it is. And like, he's a wrestler now, and he's one of the more famous professional wrestlers. So everything's just going too right, and the whole issue is pretty boring, to be honest with you. It's basically him just going through the motions, saying, I can't put my finger on it, but it just seems too good to be true, and stuff like that. But the most interesting thing that happens at the end of the issue is J. Jonah Jameson is minding his own business, and then throughout the issue, he's still a Spider-Man hater. It's just amplified more now. So the Green Goblin shows up, and he ends up trying to kidnap J. Jonah Jameson and use him as bait to get Spider-Man out of wherever he is. However, the twist in this is you see J. Jonah Jameson just smiling, and he's like, yeah, when do we start? So this world is upside down right now. But House of M is only just begun. Wolverine knows the truth. Doom is plotting. Magneto is ruling. and Wanda is at the center of everything, who we still haven't seen yet. So on the next episode, I do want to cover the next 4, and it starts off with Iron Man, House of M #1. I think that one's going to be good. As much as I hate Iron Man, I think that's going to be a good-ass fucking comic. So that's the first 4 issues. Also, guys, there's a few things I want to talk about. Dragon Ball dropped the Galactic Patrol arc trailer, and then they dropped the 40th anniversary trailer along with whatever new, I'm assuming it's going to be Xenoverse 3, and it's going to have fighters graphics, which is going to be awesome. So when I do get a chance, I'm going to hit up Mike, and we're going to talk about that. Trust me. I know you guys know I like Dragon Ball. I'm just saving it, okay? If I'm going to have a conversation about that, I'm going to have a whole ass conversation about it. So just trust. And then I also want to talk about eventually AJ Styles getting retired because Gunther just beat him. Other than that, this has been the HFIL podcast, and I will see you guys next time.